Hey everybody, it's an honor to be with you once again for a midweek devotional, and it's great to have Becky sitting here alongside me. How you doing today, Becky?
I'm great, thank you.
So Becky's doing great, I'm doing great, and we just hope and pray that it be God's will that those who are listening to this video can leave feeling better about themselves and more comfortable than when you got here.
That's right.
So with that being said, Becky, I thought that maybe we should start off with a little game.
Okay.
Would you be interested in playing?
Absolutely.
All right. Now, the good news for you watching, you can also play this game. So, Becky, have you seen The Price is Right?
Yes, I have. Big fan.
Really?
Yes. Actually, many years ago, we were at The Price is Right game show.
Okay.
Kid you not.
All right. Well, we're going to play a game that I've seen on The Price is Right, and this was years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see if you can recall this. So they bring a contestant out, and they put a product in front of them,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an amount attached to that product.
Right.
However, that is the wrong amount,
Mm-hmm.
and the contestant has to say
Higher
if
or
the actual is higher or lower.
Yeah.
She knows this. I'm just saying this to you guys at this point. So that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
You're going to be the contestant.
Okay.
I'm going to be Bob Barker.
Oh boy.
I know he's not there any longer, but
Yeah.
I always was
Drew-
fond of Bob.
You could be the new Drew Carey.
So, everybody at home, please play along. I'm going to show an item and guess higher or lower. We're going to see how you do.
Okay.
Item 1. We have a box of dryer sheets.
Mm-hmm.
Snuggle dryer sheets with a price tag of $4.35. $4.35. So Becky, do you think this is 80 sheets?
Uh-huh.
Is this higher or lower?
That is lower.
You're actually wrong.
Oh no!
I paid $4.49 for this.
Oh,
This was a little bit higher. This is tough.
that is.
This is going to be tough.
Yeah,
So you're 0 for
because
1.
usually snuggles are cheap.
It was the cheapest that was there. All right.
Man. Until I don't buy those.
Now, all this is from Strax, too.
Oh,
Let me
okay.
tell you that. That makes a
Okay.
difference. So
Yeah.
it's all from Strax,
Yep.
nothing on sale. Item number 2. I have here a 12-ounce bag of Dunkin' Original Blend coffee
Okay.
with a price tag of $7.49. Do you think the actual is higher or lower for the coffee?
I would say lower.
You would say lower, and I'm so sorry,
Really?
it's higher. I paid $7.99 for that.
Quit going to Strax.
It was the closest to my house.
Yeah, that's true.
All right,
And you can
Moving
tell
on.
I don't buy that either.
number 3. Oh, this is great for a day like today.
Oh,
Just great. We've got a family size, home style Campbell's chicken noodle soup can. And I'm telling you that I paid $3.29 for this. So everybody decide what you think. You think it's higher or lower?
I would say higher.
Becky would say higher,
What would be wrong?
and it was lower. $2.99. How did you do on the prices right when you were there?
Well, we didn't get on the
You didn't?
show, so.
All right, moving on.
And I can't play it in real life either.
That's okay. Here we go. All right. Now we've got 6 mega
Ooh.
toilet paper rolls for Charmin Extra Soft or Ultra Soft. And I'm telling you that I paid $9.25.
That's lower. That's got.
Becky says
Got to be lower.
it's got to be lower than $9.25. Let's see. Becky. You're right. It was lower. $8.99.
Woo!
Good job, Becky. You got on the board. Okay, that's one.
One for the team.
All right, we got one more. Last one.
Okay.
I didn't purchase this item.
Okay.
It was too expensive.
Okay.
But what I did was I just printed a picture.
Okay.
So as I left Strax, I saw their flower section.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought to myself, how many guys out there are going to forget that this coming Sunday is Valentine's Day? So I need to make sure I put this in there to remind them. So guys, this is a reminder for you. Get your wives something good.
Your reminder too.
My reminder too. So Becky, I'm telling you that I would have had to pay $21.99 for this. Do you think the actual price is higher or lower?
Today it's higher, tomorrow it's lower because they're on sale tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are we going with here?
We're going to go higher.
Becky's going to say higher than $21.99. If I would have picked them up that day, they would have been lower for $15.99.
They'll be on sale.
So,
now I got one.
The bad news is you got 1 out of 5. The good news is you got that one. And the even better news is there was a budget for this prize.
Okay.
A church budget.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to say this. It's very exciting, but you're the winner of a new car.
Uh-oh.
Unfortunately, the budget didn't allot for the car I wanted to get you. But what the church was able to get you was this Volkswagen Beetle.
That's so funny. That is
so you
cute.
won your car on the Price is Right now.
Do I owe taxes now?
Now I thought you might have trouble driving that, but your grandson might love driving that around.
And I've always wanted one of these little cars.
And on top of that, you get one item from the game.
Oh boy.
What's it gonna be?
Well, since I won with the toilet paper, I'm going with the toilet paper.
She's going with the toilet paper. There you go.
Now I don't have to buy any.
All right. Well, thank you for playing and being a good sport. I hope you had fun at home. Now, I'm wondering if some of you might have picked up on the fact that all those items that were just put before you, they have something in common. And if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I know what it is. To some degree, all those items are comforting. Then you are correct. All those items do bring some level of comfort to us. Some people wake up in the morning and there's nothing more comforting than their hot cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. There are some people that when they're not feeling well or it's a cold day like today, there's nothing more comforting than a bowl of chicken noodle soup. So, as consumers, we pay millions of dollars every day to purchase products just like these, and there's thousands upon thousands of them, to bring us a level of comfort. No. But do you know where these products get us? They don't get us very far, because eventually what's going to happen is the box is going to be empty, or the roll or the can or whatever it may be, we're going to run out and we're going to be unsatisfied. Right. And we're going to go on the hunt. We're going to have to go out and we're going to search for that product some more to try to find some comfort. And I call those comforts costly comforts. We pay for it, we get something back. And they're kind of superficial comforts, not the comfort that we're going to primarily be talking about today. And that comfort we're going to find in 2 Corinthians. If everybody could please turn in their Bibles to 2 Corinthians chapter 1. Now, the comfort we're going to be discussing today, it is a true and sustaining comfort, and it's available to all of us. In these scriptures in Corinthians, Paul's letter to the church, he answers some very important questions when it comes to comfort. He tells people where comfort comes from, who is able to receive this comfort, when this form of comfort can come to you, and what do you do with this comfort when you do get it. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 1 through 4, where it says, Paul, an apostle of Jesus Christ by the will of God, and Timothy, our brother, to the church of God which is at Corinth, with all the saints who are in all Achaia, grace to you and peace from God our Father and the Lord Jesus Christ. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of mercies and God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our tribulation, that we may be able to comfort those who are in any trouble with the comfort with which we ourselves are comforted by God. So, leading up to these scriptures, the church at Corinth, they had gone down kind of a dark path. They were stirred up against the Apostle Paul. They were stirred up against him so much that they actually felt that he was unqualified to be Jesus's apostle. And when you think about that, you know, the status of a church who would be at that level to think that about Paul and all that he represented at this time in his ministry, you know, it shows their health. And it shows that they would have been very spiritually unhealthy at that time. So God had to do some things to get that church back on track. You know, one of the things was Titus was sent there, and Titus did a lot of good things and got things going in the right direction. And then, you know, this letter from Paul comes, and this letter has some really good information for those individuals. Paul knew that a church who's looking to get healthy and get on track, they need to understand some of the vital building blocks of comfort. And that's what we're going to talk about, and that's what we see in verses 3 and 4. So keep in mind that if we're able to understand this level of comfort and we're able to apply it to our lives, it's going to have a huge effect. It's going to lead to a healthier church.
Right.
It's going to lead to a healthier city. And it's going to lead to a healthier you and me. So the first thing that needs to be understood is, where does true comfort come from? Now, as verse 3 comes to a close, if you'd please look back there, you can see that it tells us that it comes from the God of all comfort. I love the sound of that. Comfort comes from the God of all comfort. All right? And when you say all comfort, we're talking about a God who was the inventor, the manufacturer, and the distributor of comfort. And one of the most important realizations we can have here is how it says that this God of all comfort, is the Father of Jesus Christ, our Savior. So we got to know that. And anyone who's willing to put faith in the God of all comfort, he's going to hear you. And he's going to share all the good things he has with us. The second question is, when can we count on receiving this comfort from God? And I really think that that is an important question, because we can probably all relate to that. Comfort is important to us in many different ways, but I think that a lot of times our life revolves around our personal comfort.
Yeah.
You know, am I hungry? Am I tired? What do I want to do? What do I want to watch on TV? You know, we want to be comfortable. We want those comfortable things to be a part of our lives, and we're willing to jeopardize all sorts of things to get what it is we want. And verse 4, at the beginning, it says that God will comfort us in all our tribulation. In other words, God will be there for us during our greatest times of need, during the tribulations that we face in this life. So it kind of brought a question about in my mind that I'd like to ask you. Have you ever had a moment that really stands out in your life where you needed comfort and God came to your aid and delivered that comfort?
Well, the most time that I can think about was when my daughter was born. She was 7 days old. And at this time, we didn't have a car. We didn't have a place to get to the hospital or anything. And then we didn't even have a telephone to where I could call and see how things were going. So she was born and there was issues. And they weren't sure about the issues. So what they did is they took her to one hospital and took her to a different hospital. They airlifted her to this other hospital. 7 days later, they found out that there was a blockage in one of her arteries. And it was the back side of her artery where the blood flow goes to the lower legs. And it was all blocked, and there was nowhere the blood was going. So she wasn't feeding, she had blood pressure that was really low, so they had to do surgery. Now, saying that I didn't have a phone, I had to go to the payphone. At that time, we had a payphone right around the corner from our house, and I had to call the hospital, and I didn't even know that they had already transferred her. So I called the hospital where she was born at, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, she's
not here."
Yeah, she's not here anymore. So she's been airlifted over to Baltimore,
wow.
Maryland, which she was born in Maryland." And I'm like, "Okay, so what do I do? I got to have something to write the number down so I can find out what was going on."
Right.
Well, needless to say, we go to the hospital, and the doctors explained to us what they were going to do. And it was kind of just one of those things where we were standing there and we see this little baby, laying on this bed, and there was just like a calmness over everything. Well, we sat in the hospital, and just everything was just so calm. And the doctors had called us back because it was done, and we both, Mike and myself, we looked at each other and we're like, "Wait a minute, it seems like it was really quick, like really quick." So they called. They says, "The parents of Amanda Ray, please come back." So we go back there, and I kid you not, there was a teenage kid in the bed. It was a different Amanda Ray, and we just at that point we were laughing.
What are the odds?
We were laughing so hard because it was like, "Wait a minute, that's not my baby. That's somebody else's baby." And the doctor's like, "Oh," and we were just and it was so calming and relaxing. And then we went in and we saw the baby, and she was, it's an image that some parents, you can't forget. The tubes that were coming out, and they were still breathing for her at that point in time. They were still, doing the breath, and just all kinds of tubes were coming out, and they're like, "Don't be alarmed." And I'm like, "I'm not. It's good."
Right.
Because it was just so calm, and just everything was just working out. And then she came home, and it was like, everything's going to be good. I just knew that everything was going to be good.
Well, good. Thank you. I have other areas where I agree that I felt great comfort. For me, the moment that really stands out from my past was my deployment. And it was the hardest year of my life, but it was a year that I was doing what God wanted me to do, and He really opened my eyes up to things. I left the country. There was obstacles after obstacles surrounding me at the time, but there, every single step of the way, every hour, every minute, every second of every day of that deployment, God was there to stand me up, to support me, to love me, and to deliver comfort. And instances like I think we both just talked about are instances where you just knew without a doubt that God was there and He was delivering that comfort that we needed at the time. And, the sad thing is that we don't get a whole lot of experiences like that a lot of times. And there's a lot of people that they never get to experience what that feels like. I think that we're living in a world that the world is trying to cater to us.
Right.
And it's trying to deliver comfort, right? It wants us to feel like the comfort we're receiving from the world and from one another is sufficient.
Right.
And it's almost like a big trick. But there's a greater comfort that we are in need of, and that's from God. So, any last comments before we move on?
Well, I just think also, like you say, there's so many things that when you're with God and God's with you, that you can get through no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to rely on that.
You gotta have faith.
You can't just throw it to the side and say, okay, tomorrow this will go away. You can't. You have to have the faith that God will be with you no matter what. And He's proven it, time and time again,
right,
that He is with me. I could tell you multiple stories about things that's happened in my life, and I'm still young, so I'm still waiting for, things to inspire to where I know God is going to still be right there with me.
Sure.
He's going to, even though there's times where I'm like, I know Satan's right there at that back door, but I know God is right here.
Right.
He's right here. He's not going to leave me. As I told Emily Gaithier today, I says, God will never leave you or forsake thee. Never.
You're right. Thank you. All right, so we got one final question that we wanted to have answered today, and that is, what do we do with the comfort God gives us? Very important question, and if you would, please look back into verse 4. God gives us comfort so that we may be able to comfort them which are in trouble. As believers and recipients of God's comfort, we're asked to extend the comfort that was shown to us with others. That means that along with God's comfort comes great opportunity. The opportunity to do something that others aren't doing.
Mm-hmm.
The opportunity to say something that others are afraid to say.
Right.
So, speaking of doing things that others aren't doing, I saw something a couple weeks ago, a good example of this shared comfort that we're supposed to be showing others. And it was at Mr. Jerry Richardson's viewing. And while I was there, I saw one of the members of our church, a part of the blanket ministry, walk through the church doors with arms full of blankets for the family. And it was just such a comforting sight for me. It made me say to myself, first I thought, I'm glad to be a member of Valparaiso Baptist,
right,
because of a ministry, of what they're doing, how they're reaching out to the family. But even more importantly than that, it eventually led to me saying, I am just so honored and grateful to be a servant and follower of the King, and be part of His family. So it was just such a comforting sight, because I knew that it was an extension of God's love. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. And I thought that this might be a great opportunity for you as a member of the blanket ministry to just kind of talk for a few minutes and tell maybe some of those listening that don't know about the blanket ministry just a little bit about it.
Okay, well, it started back in 2008, believe it or not.
Okay.
And they used to do it in the living room of Gene Taylor.
Really?
Yep. It was Maureen Taylor that brought it to the sisters of Valparaiso Baptist Church. She was given this blanket by one of her friends that got it from her church that she went to.
Okay.
And she comes up to her, she says, I have no idea how they make them. I just think you needed one. So they looked it up, and there's actually a nice little sheet that I found, but they've been doing it so long, we don't need this blueprint anymore.
Have it all up here, don't
Yeah,
you?
exactly. Well, yeah. Well, if I can teach it to our pastor's wife. So the first person that actually got one of our lovely blankets was Barb Haberkamp.
Okay.
For passing of her husband. Now, mind you, like you said, those blankets that I gave out, there's many more they got. So this is an example of just one of the blankets. I kept it covered up or tied up because, yeah, but they're huge. They're absolutely just, can you see it?
Oh, yeah.
So, believe it or not, these blankets just don't stay
Really soft.
in Valparaiso, Indiana. These blankets travel many miles.
Really?
Yes. And when we get together to make these blankets as members of the church, now I even told people, I says, you don't really have to be a member of our church to come in and to make a blanket, because it gives you so much joy to make these blankets. It is amazing the feeling that you get when you make a blanket. And we meet here at the church. Now, we used to meet in the all-purpose room, but we meet now in the old sanctuary.
Okay.
And we get together and we just sit at the table, lay 2 things of this fleece material out, and we just go to work. And then when we're done making how many ever blankets we can make, sometimes we can only make 1, sometimes we make 10, just depending on the amount of people, because the more people you have, obviously you'll be able to make more.
Sure.
And you can actually get more done. So there's been times when I know we've made maybe 8 or 9 blankets in one time. And it just depends. Sometimes we say, well, we're only going to be here for an hour. Yeah, that doesn't work sometimes, because sometimes we just keep going and keep going and keep going, because it's just so much that goes into it. And you can talk about family members, and you can talk about your day, and it's just so relaxing, and so it's just amazing.
One question. Now, I feel like maybe some time ago I might have heard somebody mention that when you're tying all those knots, that there's also prayers.
Yeah, that happens when we're all done,
Okay.
and they're all like this, okay?
Complete.
Complete
finished.
and done. We all circle around, okay? And then the head of the sisters, which right now it's me, will say a prayer. And basically the prayer just asks Jesus to help comfort the person that receives this. Now, I'm a bad person when it comes to the blankets, because I will give them out to whoever.
Anybody and everybody?
Anybody, because I know what it does,
Right.
So, but basically, if you have a loss, if you have a sickness, you just reach out to one of us and we'll help you. But if I find out the first time I was a member of the church and I started making the blankets, the first person that I wanted to give a blanket to was Barb Steinler. Now, I didn't know the background of the story and how many times she's got a blanket, and I really didn't care because I heard that she had cancer and my mom had cancer. So I was like, I got to get her a blanket. I just get up, go get a blanket, and then here's your blanket. She's like, Becky Ray, I can't take that. I'm like, yes, you can. You can take it. So basically, when we're in that circle, we say the prayer, and then what we do with this blanket after the prayer is said, we take it around the circle and everybody gives it a hug. Because even on the flyer, it states that this blanket was made by the church members, and that each tie that's tied is done with prayers. So that, and then what we do once we're all done with it, they go back in the little closet waiting for the receiver to get them. So yeah, it's
very nice.
And we haven't been able to do as much because of the pandemic.
Right.
But we have been so fortunate. Just like back in the day, they used to have Jean Taylor, Liz Walker, they used to take blankets home and do them. Now we have Dottie Slusher. She takes them home because we were like almost running out after I gave all those blankets away. We were almost running out. So Dottie took them home and she did them. So we are blessed beyond measure. But at the same time, we also need people to come in and help and make blankets, because it's just, you just don't understand like what it does for you as a, well, to me, I mean, I could be different from everybody else. I get a lot of joy in doing these blankets. I think I've only missed one, and I've been a member for 11 years. So it is well beyond, you know, like I said, it goes many places. My mom got one. She lives in Florida, you know, so, and I know they've been sent out to Texas and other places like that. So
Right.
It just doesn't stay in Valpo. So that says something about the love and the comfort that God can give you.
Right.
You know, even at the end of the day, when you give this to somebody. Now I know when I got mine when Mike was really bad sick, and we didn't know what was going on with him. I knew I could get into that blanket and get that warmth and that feeling of love, and just, again, the calmness that it gives you. And when you're making these blankets and you know that it's going to go to somebody that needs it more than what you do, that's what you do.
Well, I think it's great. I think it's a great ministry. It has been at our church for years. Mm-hmm. And, you know, maybe there's somebody out there who hears this video, yep, and you're interested in learning more or just helping out with it. Maybe you know you like it and you want to give it a shot. So just grab Becky on a Sunday and say that you're interested, and I'm sure that you'll let them know how they can get attached.
Yeah, and if you're part of the texting group that we have through Church Track, mm-hmm, I send out those texts also that says this is the time we're getting together, you know, and sometimes I forget because I'm airheaded. So I have to admit to that, because I am airheaded, to send out the second text just to remind people, hey, we're having a meeting, right, please come. The first meeting that we had prior, I think we've had 2 meetings, we had some new faces, and it was great. Good. Because we had new faces, and it was a new family, and I was excited because it's like, you know, I want to see it move forward.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and keep going. Yeah. And, you know, I would like to have that cabinet in there completely full. Oh, you know, and I'm also very appreciative of our church that helps with this ministry. They give us money for this ministry to continue on and keep going and showing that God has the all power of everything. He has power over everything. Right. It's just you reach that certain person, you know. Sometimes we give it as a group, and then sometimes I'm sneaky and I just give it myself. Because at the end, you know, again, you know that the need is there. Right. And you also know that God's got this. Right. And then when you talk to the people about the, you know, the ministry and what it's for, a lot of people do know, you know, that our church family, they do know. But there's also the ones that don't know. Like my mom, she had no clue what this ministry was about, and I explained it to her. And she says, oh, that's amazing. I'm like, well, yeah, Mom. I says it's God. It's God. Right. It's
an amazing God.
That. So.
Well, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about it.
Thank you.
That was very enjoyable. And was there anything else that you wanted to say?
I don't think so. I had a great time.
Yeah. Thanks for doing this.
A lot of fun.
And you know, on behalf of Becky and myself, I want to say to all you listening that we hope that this devotional has been helpful and comforting. Mm-hmm. And most importantly, though, we hope that it's encouraging. You know, encouraging to the level that God has shared His comfort with us. And He commands us to go share that comfort with others. So let's go out and do just that. Thank you.